Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming for this Congress. It has been 3 days, and we started planning for about so many years ago, but finally it has come to Africa. We started in, I think, in Japan, then we moved on to Canada, then we went to Europe in Northern, then we went to Latin America, and now Africa is the last. And the topic for the African is leading by examples. And most of the things that we'll have learned is that the youth were not involved in fisheries. And all those that I know in fisheries are old men and women. So the next 10 years, who are those going to take the lead? It was a last minute issue that I got set up, and we had a chance to just have our discussion on the blue economy. And I wish like you guys had a conversation today at the last meeting that happens between the banks and the indigenous people, the fight that's happened, and the story from South Africa, how the laws and policies has been discriminating them from having an access to food. It was very interesting, but because our session is also online, I think 8 people are now online with us. So they will be also shared the thought. Now I have 9 participants on our list. So our first speaker will be Grace Andrews. I got to know Grace from a friend of mine whom I did the same masters with in Holland. And then she introduced me to Grace, and then I noticed that Grace is also in Iceland, and Kathy was also in Iceland. So both of you may know each other, which I don't know. So it's very interesting. Salima and I and Kathy did the same masters in South Korea. We had a fun, and then we thought it wise to move on with what we had, and then build our capacity, knowledge, and take over by next 5 future from these old men and women in fisheries and champion. I do believe that when we come together, we can do more things in terms of funding proposals, because everyone has its own way of making things work. So I will start with Grace to share her PowerPoint with us, and then from that onwards we can take over from there. So Grace, I'm going to make you I'm going to allow you to share. So try and see if you can share your PowerPoint.
So I can try now?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Grace Andrew, and I'm working as the Senior Fisheries Officer at the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries. So I'll be presenting to you on as the question was posed, that is the African Union Blue Economy Strategy Guideline a threat to the small-scale fisheries and coastal communities in Africa? So I will take you through the African Union Blue Economy Strategy and the way forward. So this is my outline. I will not read one by one. And this is the introduction. I just wanted to let you know that the United Republic of Tanzania is a coastal state on the Western Indian Ocean, and it has a coastline of about 1424 kilometers. And on the northern part, it borders Kenya, while on the southern part, it borders with Mozambique. And the country shares 3 Great Lakes of Victoria, Tanganyika, Lake Nyasa, and it has medium and small lakes like rivers, natural and man-made dams, ponds, and wetlands. And also, more than 200,000 people are directly involved in the fishing activities, while more than 4.5 million Tanzanians earn their daily income depending on the fisheries-related activities. And the contribution of the fisheries sector in Tanzania by the year 2021, it was 1.7% to the GDP. So, when we talk of the small-scale fisheries, we normally mean that it is the type of the fisheries which is characterized by harvesting predominantly for their own household consumption, and they normally sell in the local market while retaining a portion of their catch for local consumption. And the small-scale fisheries most of the time is non-industrialized methods it uses non-industrialized method in harvesting, so it means they are using passive gears. And according to the estimates, in Africa, we have 10 million people who rely directly on small-scale fisheries as their primary livelihood. So you can see how important the small-scale fisheries is. So as I said, that they are using traditional fishing vessels and gears like boat, canoe, though, and on the gear they use most of the time gill nets, shark nets, hand lines, long lines, traps, or baskets to catch. So these are some of the gears and the fishing crafts which characterize the small-scale fishery. If you can see at the picture, the first one presents dugout canoe, while the second one presents the fiber boat, and the other boat in the local name we call it Ngwanda, and the next is the planked canoe. So these are the fishing crafts which are being used mostly by the small-scale fishers in Tanzania, but I think it's very common in also other parts. This is mostly around the coast of Tanzania. So the blue economy itself, what is it? It is the blue economy normally focus on the ocean-based marine environment, biodiversity, ecosystem, species, and genetic resources while ensuring conservation. But this definition is according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. But when we go to the African context, the blue economy concept goes beyond that one. It includes, it covers both aquatic, fresh and marine spaces, like oceans, seas, coasts, lakes, rivers, and groundwater. So you can see it encompasses a range of productive sectors like the fisheries, aquaculture, tourism, transport, shipbuilding, energy, bioprospecting, and underwater-related activities. So the rationale for having the African Union Blue Economy Strategy, it's because firstly, the geographical location of the continent itself. The continent is located along the major productive aquatic bodies like ocean and sea environment. As you can see, we have the Atlantic Ocean, we have the Indian Ocean, Red Sea, and the Mediterranean. But when we go to the other parts, you can see that we have also the lake, the freshwater bodies like lakes, rivers, and the like. So the aquatic ecosystem presents abundant opportunities for the African Union member states to participate in the sustainable ocean blue economy. So it has potentials for improving productivity of the ocean environment, job creation, strengthening food and nutrition security, wealth creation, opportunities, and the environmental sustainability towards the sustainable blue economy development. So as I said that the continent is rich with freshwater bodies and the oceans. So in managing those aquatic resources, there are some complexities which are associated with most of the African Union member states. So this led to the leaders who met in Nairobi in 2018 to come up with a special approach. Those leaders urged the African Union to come up with a special approach, the African Union Blue Economy Strategy, which will enable the member states to fully exploit the associated benefits of the aquatic resources in a sustainable manner. So despite the potentials, benefits, and opportunities associated with these aquatic resources, so there are some of the challenges which are associated with managing those resources. For instance, on the case of governance, governing the resources, but also climate change issues, extreme weather events, and the like. There are so many challenges associated. Because of the time, I can't mention one by one. So this led to the formulation of African Union Blue Economy Strategy, which basically was formulated to support the African Union member states and the regional institutions to effectively address the critical challenges to the blue economic growth. So the strategy lays out the priority actions for initiating actions towards potential and maximizing the opportunities for more evolved and effective blue economy in Africa. So in order to achieve all of this, there are thematic areas which have been laid out within the blue economy strategy, African blue economy strategy. There are mainly 5, but I'm going to discuss only a few, which are related, of course, with the fisheries. But just to mention, thematic area 1, we have the fisheries, aquaculture, conservation, and sustainable aquatic ecosystem in the context of blue economy. Thematic area 2 talks about shipping or transportation, trade, ports, maritime security, safety, and enforcement in the African blue economy. But thematic area number 3 is all about coastal and marine tourism, climate resilience, environment, and infrastructure, while thematic area 4 talks about sustainable energy, mineral resources, and innovative industries in the context of African blue economy, while the last thematic area number 5, is all about policies, institution and governance, employment, job creation, and poverty eradication, innovative financing in the context of African blue economy. So thematic area 1, which is specifically for the fisheries, aquaculture, conservation, and sustainable and ecosystem in the context of African blue economy, the guideline urge the African Union member states to approach this thematic area by putting initiative to unlock full potential of the fisheries and aquaculture in the blue economy by putting several interventions through the government sectors, private sectors, NGOs, CSOs, academics, and development partners, and this should be fully supported by the African Union during its implementation. And in order to attain this, there are some goals which have been put down. For instance, we have this first goal, which is optimizing conservation and sustainable fisheries and aquaculture resources use while minimizing conflicts within the other blue economy sub-theme. And under this one, in order to attain this goal, we have to establish institutional coordination mechanism to harmonize fisheries and aquaculture activities within the blue economy themes. And here, for instance, we can see some of the African states have already started to implement the SSF guideline. and Tanzania is one of the countries which have been started already to implement this. And when you look into the SSF guideline, there are several areas which talks about how we can sustain the aquatic resources while benefiting the coastal communities. But this cannot be done alone, or the government cannot do it alone. There are other sectors or other stakeholders who are also inquired through that guideline to work together with the government to ensure that the people benefit from their coastal, which they benefit from their resources, which they are always conserving them.
Okay, please, Grace, it left with only 2 minutes, so please kindly.
Okay, I'm going to summarize. I'm not going to talk about other thematic areas. No, now I'm going to the lastly, I've mentioned the international and the national instruments, which also supports the African Union Blue Economy Strategy. We have the AU Policy Framework and Reform Strategy for Fisheries and Aquaculture, which was in 2014. We have the Voluntary Guideline for Securing Sustainable Small-Scale Fisheries for Food Security and Poverty Eradication, which has 6 main thematic areas. Then we have the Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries adopted by FAO in 1995. We have the National 5-Year Development Plan. We have the SDGs, for instance, SDG number 14, which talks about life below water. It emphasizes on conservation and sustainable use of the oceans, seas, and marine resources. We have East African Community Vision of 2050. Then at the local, in the national, we have the Fisheries Act, we have the Fisheries Policy, we have the National Plan of Action for implementing the SSF guideline, but we also have the Blue Economy Strategy, Tanzania Blue Economy Strategy, which is under preparation. Now it's a draft. So to conclude, we can say that the African Union Blue Economy Strategy, it considered the sustainability of the aquatic resources as I've outlined it through the thematic area, but it ensures integrated and prospective approach to transform and resilient economy, because it aspires for having a prosperous Africa based on inclusive economy, sustainable development, innovation, and local capacities. And this is because of its vision, which is an inclusive and sustainable blue economy that significantly contributes to Africa's transformation and growth. So you can see how much the African Union Blue Economy Strategy is not a threat to the small-scale fisheries, if and only if all what is being outlined within the strategy will be implemented accordingly by the member states. So having said that, thank you for listening. That's the end of my presentation.
Oh, thank you so much, Grace. I have learned a lot from Tanzania. And I'm happy to inform you guys that AU staff are listening to your presentation from Nairobi. I'm really surprised that they tune into your presentation. They wanted to find out from you. Helen, I noticed you are online. It has been a long time that we've been together, but I'm so blessed and honored to have you on this page. These are the African youth that want to have a say on African blue economy. I also see Connie, well-known fisheries professors and scholars listen to our panel. I'm really honored. So you guys be careful. You are coming to have a lot of questions from experts on this session. Trust me, I know those they have tuned in for this program. So our next presentation will be Salima. She is coming to give us a talk and experience from Tunisia. She's based in South Korea now and doing a PhD. So I'll hand over to you.
All right, let me try and share my screen.
I think Grace has to stop sharing.
Yeah, I've already stopped it.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I can see here.
All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to our session. So my name is Sulaima Dhahbi. I'm from Tunisia, and currently I'm a PhD student at Pukyong National University in South Korea. And I'm here to give a brief presentation about blue economy in Tunisia. So to start, a small introduction of the country. So Tunisia, oh, sorry, let's go back. Yeah. So Tunisia is a North African country. It's located in the south of the Mediterranean Sea. It has more than 1,300 kilometers of coastlines and nearly 95% of foreign trade transiting by the sea. It has an important infrastructure in commercial and fishing ports, a very active fishing fleet with a highly developed seaside activity, a quite varied maritime and port professions and jobs, and a biodiversity of about 30% of Mediterranean species are found in the Tunisian waters. So, talking about blue economy in Tunisia, the concept of blue economy in Tunisia, I would say it's a recent established concept, as different national and international initiatives and project has been taking places starting, let's say, the year 2020 till the current year 2022. Some of them, as you can see here, are presented. We have the West Med Blue Economy Initiative with the collaboration of the National Hub Tunisia that I will talk a little bit more about later on. There's some projects that have been launched. Here we have the Blue Marine, which is a project promoting the blue economy. It started recently in July 2022. We also have here on the down left the United Nations Industrial Development Organization that supports the development of sustainable aquaculture in Tunisia. And we also have the participation of the Cluster Maritime Tunisian in the Mediterranean Blue Economy Stakeholders Platform. So, as an example of what's happening currently in Tunisia, I took this initiative or this project to talk about a little bit more and present. So the West Med Blue Economy Initiative, with the collaboration of the National Hub Tunisia, are having a huge, or let's say, a modest impact so far on the blue economy in Tunisia. So the role of the National Hub is to coordinate the objectives of the West Med project and the national programs in the field of blue economy in Tunisia by associating nationals and regional authorities, but also associations, companies, and university researchers. This was presented by, this definition of the work done by this project was defined by Mr. Salim Miledi during an interview that he did recently. So the goal of this project is to take advantage of all the activities related to the sea, while preserving the ecological balance on a national level and ensuring cooperation, especially at the regional level. So I would say that the priority of this work is to raise awareness among stakeholders and associations on the fact that Tunisia can take advantage of all sectors of the sustainable blue economy. Here, we can see some of the work that was done or still is done by the West Med and the Tunisian Hub. So here we have some workshops and conferences that were done for the blue economy establishment, but we can see some blue economy calls in Tunisia for further or for future work on blue economy. I also took an example of this project. It's a very recent project that started in the 1st of July 2022. So it's called Blue Marine. It's a project promoting the blue economy in the fishing communities of the Great Lake of Tunis, which is in the capital of Tunisia. So this project is on a 2 years length, and it addresses the problem of the preservation and the enhancement of the lagoon ecosystem in the Great Lake of Tunis and Rhodes, which are threatened by overexploitation of the resources and the haliotic techniques. So from what I read about this project, it has 3 main objectives. So the first one would be to promote the trimonial fishing aquaculture on a small scale, culture and environment, in order to achieve the full responsibility of fishermen and their families in the management and also the evaluation of the assets of their lands. The second objective would be to promote the alternation between artisanal fishing and small-scale and medium-scale aquaculture activities in order to preserve natural stocks, improve the income, and also increase sustainable food production. A third objective of this project would be to promote craft activities with recycled materials, sustainable organic food productions, and maybe new businesses related to fish byproducts. So here's some necessary prerequisites for developing a sustainable blue economy in Tunisia, according to a study that was done by the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights. So the main prerequisites are cited here. So first, the rational exploitation and preservation of marine resources, the coastline and the health of the marine and coastal domain. So by applying intensive control of fishing activities through the authorities, to also by ensuring compliance with the regulations set for exploiting the resources. There's also a biological rest period that can be done. The second one will be the adoption of a social and solidarity-based economy in which many parties come to work together to ensure the well-done of the blue economy. The third one would be the sensitization of the youth to environment problems by workshops or field trips. And the last one will be the construction of a deep water port. And with this slide, I come to an end to my brief presentation about blue economy in Tunisia. Thank you, everyone, for your attention.
Thank you so much, Salima, for telling us what has been done in Tunisia in terms of the projects and actions that they are implementing in line with a blue economy. So I'll go over to Naziwa. Naziwa is from Uganda, and I happen to do the same course with her in South Korea and now based in Uganda. So she's going to share with us on her story from her country.
Thank you so much, Isaac. It's my pleasure to join you guys and everyone attending our session. You're welcome. I'm glad to speak after us other speakers because most of what I wanted to say is kind of similar, but I will go ahead and share what I have for you today. I am not going to overemphasize my talk on what blue economy is and what our challenges are in Uganda, but I'll just look at the question, what the question was, and just to answer the question, like I'll just go ahead to answer the question. But I'll just tell you a little bit about Uganda and how unique we are. Uganda is, sorry about that. I need to share screen. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I will go ahead and show you a little bit about my country. Unique from all others, we are a landlocked country. We do not have access to the sea. And because of this, we are most of the times left out, despite the fact that we are enriched with the inland cover. 20% of our surface area is all underwater. We are greatly blessed with fresh waters, all covering all around Uganda. So despite us being a landlocked country, we have a varsity of water resources. And from these water resources, it is worth noting that so many people are earning from those water resources. We have people who are directly involved in fisheries and indirectly involved, and that gives us a total of about 5 million people. And in those 5 million people, 2 million people are directly involved in fisheries. So there are other benefits of fisheries as well, like other benefits of fisheries to the economy of Uganda, like exchange earnings, like its contribution to the GDP, like nutrition to our people, to mention but a few. But why did I start with fisheries? In Uganda, blue economy, as if it's all about fisheries, we are leaving out the fact that blue economy is beyond fisheries. And this information is not yet clear out there in Uganda, especially to the youth and the people who are going to be the future leaders in our blue economy, or in our who are going to run the blue economy. So it is worth mentioning that when we are all emphasizing the blue economy, we should clear out and state all the segments, all the other different segments of the blue economy, like tourism, like minerals, mineral extraction, like transport, and not only dwell ourselves on fisheries. And that brings me to my next point, that there is potential in other sectors as well, besides the supporting of people, the 5 million people, besides the earning that you get from fisheries, besides the metric tons from fisheries and aquaculture. We can get a lot more from tourism. We can get a lot more from transport. We can get a lot more from the generation of electricity and extraction of minerals if we do it well. And imagine the number of people that we can support from those other sectors as well. So we need to put our emphasis not only on fisheries, but also to boost other sectors as well. And the question of the conference of our talk is the blue economy strategy is the African Union Blue Economy Strategy Guidelines a threat to Uganda's small-scale fisheries? I'm putting Uganda here because I'm a speaker for Uganda. And I will say no, the African Union Blue Economy Strategy Guidelines are not a threat at all to Uganda's small-scale fisheries. It is actually going to help us if the principles for the implementation of the blue economy are followed. Then it is actually going to help us assist in elimination of the challenges that are hindering us as a country, Uganda, in terms of our blue economy. I listed some of them here, but there is a lot more to just the challenges that we see. In in Uganda, we lack potential, we lack knowledge of the blue potential. Most of us, like my talk has been dwelling on it. We only focus on fisheries, but we have a lot more. We lack absence of accounting for the blue economy activities. We do not have, we have an insufficient structuring and implementation plan for the blue economy, and it has not yet been followed. So if we accept the strategy to come on board for Uganda, then I believe Uganda's blue economy will shine even further. And on that note, I would like to thank you so much, Isaac, for inviting me for this talk. I hope and believe that there are some activists in the crowd that are hearing my cry. We as Uganda need the blue economy on board, and I believe we can do much better. Even if we do not have access to the sea, we have potential, and I believe we shall go further when we are assisted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And I'm really enjoying all the talk from all of you. And I'll also share my my presentation in terms of Ghana. But before I start, I would like to inform Kathy that the AU person in charge of fisheries and aquaculture, Helen, is listening, and then so maybe Helen would take up your cry and things that you said. So so I'm going to talk about is African blue economy a threat to an African country's coastal area. I may be a little bit biased because I did help in coming up with this blue economy policy document and strategy. And last year I had opportunity to also invited to go to Canada and help them to develop the blue economy strategy. So most of my thinking, I may compare both documents that we did in line with my talk, but I may speak mainly for Ghana perspective because I'm talking in the way of Ghana. So when we look at the blue economy per se, these are the pictures that it shows at the long run. And then the AG one, it's saying that by the 2030, I think they're going to generate 50-something billion dollars. And 2060, we are going to have an amount of, I think, 78 or something billion dollars. I don't have it offhand, but I know it's around those areas. So this is how it is with fisheries, with the energy, with the waste management and marine. But my talk today is going to only focus on fisheries aspect because we are going to have our discussion in that perspective. So in Ghana, about 10% of our population depend on fisheries. And we have over 11,000 canoes that operate along the marine areas. Most of the goods that we receive in Ghana, nearly 80% comes through our harbor. We now have oil, we now have gas, and we are exploiting other minerals on our sea. All these form part of the blue economy issue. So we have a policy that is an EPA policy, Ministry of Fisheries, and all those things. But these laws are being aligned to UNCLOS laws. So it's also basically affirming the blue economy strategy of Africa. So like the project I have seen so far from Ghana was this, that EU is funding young entrepreneurs to engage in the blue economy activities in Ghana. So as I did mention, we are exploiting oil. This oil, what are the injustices that is being built upon in terms of the local areas? What are we doing in terms of damages and splits in case if it happens? What are the boundaries? What are the buffer zones? Who is benefiting from these oils? And who is being discriminated against the oil findings. So all these are the talk that goes into a blue economic perspectives. We said a blue economic, we want to have more tourism potentials. And these tourism potentials trying to move away of the indigenous population landing site. A study I did indicated in West Africa alone, we have nearly 18,000 landing sites along our beaches. If we want to focus on tourism, these tourism, what are they going to displace this landing site? Because there has to be a conflicting and competing for space. What are we going to do about it based on each countries? And then I would just give a conclusion statement from the African perspective. As all of you have mentioned, like when we do implement these policies in line with the African strategies, AU, ADAC, and all those things, it's true it's going to help us to develop our economy. As it's mentioned that it's going to give us millions of dollars, but is this going to ensure a livelihood in terms of people are dependent on livelihood in terms of agriculture? Is it going to ensure livelihood from SSF or not? Is going to help us to protect our environment and conserve our ocean. Have we also look at the other aspect, what happens in Mexico and then other parts of the world in terms of oil play? What are we doing in case all these things happen to mitigate that issue? So African blue economic policy, from my point of view, though it has to look at a trade-off and some other aspects of marginalization and franchise, because this morning we heard from the indigenous people at the meetings. It really became even a conflict and fight between the banks and then themselves, because having access right being denied is very painful, because these banks are funding oil companies that are exploiting the oceans at the benefit of these people that have history with those lands. So what are these issues blue economy going to address? So my point of view is that there has to be a trade-off in the blue economy implementation by each country. And one thing I would like to also see is this, that most of the African countries most of them have the Ministry of Fisheries and that different department. Some have the Ministry of Fisheries as Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. Some don't have a Ministry of Fisheries, but they have it under Ministry of Environment. Others also don't even have a ministry. It doesn't fall under any of those. So each one has a different department. So what I would like to see is this, that AU and other member states come together to ensure that each country establish Ministry of Oceans that will take specifically in charge of blue economy implementation each countries. That point of view, I think, will be able to help strengthen the African blue economic development to ensure us to meet our targets of the budget, that's the projection that has been stated in the policy document. So in conclusion, these are my thoughts and recommendations. So I will just open to the floor for any discussion and anyone that has an issues to have it says. Hello. Those of you online.
Yeah, we are online.
No, like those participants online. Helen. I don't know. But
Can they be able to speak though? I think they can't.
they can speak. Hello, John, Mongo, and Smart. Please, can you hear us? I don't know whether they can.
Yeah, they can hear.
They can hear us. Speak, please.
I think Karim has their hand
Yes,
up.
I have asked. I have given him.
Hello, Isaac.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Hello, Isaac.
Thank you.
Hello, my sister from Uganda. It has been a very interesting discussion, but I just want to pose a question, especially on the fact that we are discussing about the small-scale fisheries, where are the blue economies of concern. I just want to get an insight on how the strategy has factored in the issue of small-scale fisheries around the coastal communities. How the strategy has factored in and given the opportunity for the livelihood, prosperity for the people living adjacent to the coastal area. Thank you.
I think I will have loved for Helen to answer this question, because Helen is with AU-IBA, so she can speak from that perspective. So after her thoughts, then I can add more to that question.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much, Helen. Nice to hear your voice again.
Yes, it's nice hearing your voice too, and greetings to everybody. I'd like to first to thank the presenters for such an insightful presentation and the scholarship that you had provided. Actually, it was also interesting to learn how you view the blue economy strategy that the AU-IBA together with partners has developed. It was really interesting also to know whether it's a threat or it's an opportunity. Before I answer the question, I'd also like to presentation, because I realize that you have mentioned that probably the strategy is not taking into consideration the inland water bodies that we have, but I can assure you that that is not the case. We have really taken into consideration the opportunities that arises from our inland water bodies provided by the Great Lakes that Africa have. So you can be rest assured that the issues that you have mentioned and proposed are actually taken into consideration. Like in Uganda, you have the strongest association on African ship owners association. That is very strong, and AU-IBA has been the key partner in their events. We've been presenting the blue economy strategies in their events, and we've also been invited to share some ideas in terms of shipping, maritime, and so forth. Then coming to the question of small-scale fisheries, that is also an interesting one, because when we developed the strategy, we really called fisheries to form part of the formulation process. And they identified some areas that addresses small-scale fisheries. They wanted to make sure that their area for film of that protection. They've also highlighted issues to do with the strengthening of the small-scale fisheries association that will continue to advocate for the small-scale fisheries within the larger broader water bodies or ecosystem. So those are the activities that they have highlighted, basically to ensure that their rights are secured and that they will not be dislocated by larger fishing boats, and they will not be in their spaces, will also not be invaded. And of recently, we've also been receiving some concerns from the same people, from the small scale fisheries, that it's like this blue economy, it's creating a big of a concern, mainly due to those that have got economic powers. So they've been also informing us that we need to, at a higher level, continue to stress the fact that small-scale fisheries need to be protected in this space. And we have assured them that through our consultative engagements that we'll continue to have at the higher level with the ministers and the heads of state and government, will ensure that their space will continue to be protected. But that also requires them to be unified, to be speaking common African voice, and advocating for their issues together, because there'll be no point of getting a strong association in, let's say, Malawi, for example, advocating for their issues in Lake Malawi, but not the same in Ghana. But we have also organized them to be together. So at the continental level, we have what we call the AfriFishNet, which is a continental coordinating body for all the non-state actors, that is where such issues of opportunity for them and so for organization, it is strong and it is aimed at advocating for the rights of the small-scale fisheries. Thank you, Isaac. I hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Helen, for giving us a detailed answer and explanation of what you guys are doing. And I'll add a little bit to her answer. The consultant that they developed this policy, the one in charge for the fisheries, came from, I think, Angola or
Namibia.
Namibia, yes. And then he went to several countries in Africa. I know he went to Ghana, Egypt, Morocco, or something, and met with all those involved. Yeah. So they were able to tell him exactly what they wanted in that document. So he came back and then wrote as they said in that document. However, it has been maybe a few years now. Probably there's a need for a review in that aspect, or something that AUI that can still move around and see what is happening and see how they can improve the document and what other nations are also doing. So with regards to that, do anyone have a concern or a thought that would like to share?
Hello.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. My name is John Kareko from Kenya.
Oh.
And what I wanted to find out, I think, thank you, the presenters, and Aaron, for answering many questions that we would have wanted to ask. And I come from Kenya, and I work for an organization called the Southwestern Indian Ocean Tuna Alliance, or Forum. Okay. But we work more with fisheries in general, not just tuna. Now, my question is, there are very many organizations that are trying to support the small-scale fishers to maybe understand and engage with the process of the blue economy. And one of the concerns is that the small-scale fishers have not understood exactly what this blue economy is, and also the process itself, especially the decision-making process. Because if they don't know the decision-making process, engaging starts becoming a big problem. Then the next thing also is about the AfriFishNet Africa, I think, because it is coordinating the non-state actors around the blue economy. The question is, how do other organizations, the different countries that may not be regional, be able to work with AfriNet Africa so that they can work collectively rather than just working from maybe a single organization's perspective? Is there a framework that can guide us on how we get together and try to push this agenda forward? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to push Helen too much, but like AU has African Policy Research Network. It's a forum that's all those into fisheries come and discuss. So I'll ask permission from Helen to probably send you her email address or to be in touch with her and see how best your organization can be part and then work with AfroNet and see the best issue. Okay, Helen is even on again. So Helen, this question is for you again.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for that question. Indeed, it's very important what the candidate or the participant from Kenya has raised. Actually, we have received a number of recommendations from the meetings we've been conducted on the question, what is actually blue economy? You know, what are the blue economy tools and concepts? What do they mean to them? And how can they be applied at the grassroots level? So what you are raising is in line with the other stakeholders from other parts of Africa are also raising. So what AU-IBA is going to do in the next year is to organize some awareness creation workshops in which we actually train, particularly our small-scale actors and the women and youth that are involved in the sector. We are going to train them on the concepts of blue economy, the tools such as marine spatial planning, marine protected areas, and many others that they need to be aware of, and also to be informed, because these policies that we are developing, we expect them to be implemented by our actors at the grassroots level. So that is key. So that is the recommendations that we will implement next year. The second one on the AfriFishNet, actually sometime last week, we met one of our former colleagues. You might know her. Her name is Nancy Kitonga. She came to our offices. Yes, she came to our offices also to tell more about the Sue tuna NSA.
Yes.
Yes, the Sue tuna, because we were not aware, to be honest, we were not aware. And going back to 2015-16, we did some mapping on the non-state actors in the sector. So we received a number of responses, but probably we did not reach out, or we're not able to, because we did not know you, we're not able to get some information from you. But what I will do, as Isaac has done, I can share with you my email address, and I'll also appreciate if you can share with me your email address. Then in the next interventions and engagements, we could be able to link you up with the AfriFishNet, the bureau members, because they need to, we believe also from our side that they need to make more efforts to bring other non-state actors on board and to really get more people involved so that there are issues that they are presenting at the AU summit and our meetings, they are true reflection, and they represent the views of the African small-scale fisheries and other actors. So thank you so much for that and for the opportunity to speak. Mr. Isaac, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, John. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Sonia, I would like to give opportunity to Sonia and Mabel and Co. Then I'll come back to you, Kamel, please. I think they are not.
Hi, Isaac. I don't have any comments, but thank you. I really enjoyed hearing about your Ghana presentation because I'm very interested in the impacts of oil and gas production on fishing communities. So I thought that was a really interesting point and very different from some of the other presentations.
I would like to ask you, where are you from?
I am based in the United States.
And you joined us. Well, thank you so much, because it's late. In which state are you?
I am in Washington, D.C. I work at Oceana, which is a oceans NGO on fisheries.
Oh, okay. Oh, we are so blessed to spend your time instead of to sleep, just listen to our talk in this perspective. I really, really appreciate your thoughts. And then I will ask a permission of everyone that this will be recorded, and maybe I'll hand over the recording to Helen. So in case if Helen wants to take this meeting for the high level the discussion, then they will be also see that there are people that have spoken about what they think they should do. So thank you so much. Okay, then the next person is Miguel. I don't know whether he or she has a thought. Okay, then we'll go back to Kandula. Speak, please.
Hello.
Yes.
So thank you, Isaac, and it's Kindole. You know, this African name, it's not Kandola. And I appreciate the insightful comment from Helen and all the previous speaker. Basically, I didn't have a chance to introduce myself. I'm Karim Kindole, working with WWF Tanzania for Swahili Blue Economy project. And so I just wanted to pinpoint some of the key area that basically I think might be having an impact on addressing the global phenomena around the blue economy. You know, it's a new things that is coming with a number of challenges, and that's why we are pinpointing to see if it is an opportunity or a threat. And being the opportunity, it should be able to address the interest of the community, realizing the potential impact that will address to the coastal community. And in the process of realizing that, it should be very important to engage the community in realizing the benefit of the blue economy. And for example, in Tanzania, through the Swahili Blue Economy Project, we are going to amplify the work of the civil society that will be able to address different opportunities that are related to the blue economy. And it has come to our attention that the blue economy agenda is yet not well understood by the mass public, and that is pose a challenge when you are trying to address the investment through the maritime sector, advocating for the sustainable use of resources. It has become a challenge since the community and people living adjacent to the coastal community, they are not much aware of what it is entail all about the blue economy. And in doing so, we are going to formulate association that basically all the civil society, community-based organizations that are working along the coastal area are well informed to understand and be in a position to tap and address all the opportunities that basically are related to the blue economy. So my point was on ensuring the people living adjacent to the coastal area, they get an insight understanding of what real blue economy, and that if they are in a position to understand what it entails, they'll be able to see now a blue economy as an opportunity, is not a threat toward their livelihood option, and in the entire effort of ensuring the protection and conservation of the marine resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kandulu. So I would like to also inform you that I know there was a colleague and a professor on the page, but she's gone. I know she wanted to have a lot of thoughts on this aspect, and there was another person I know from World Bank was also on this panel, but also gone off. Probably our time wasn't good as we had a delay. So if nobody wants to speak again, I will hand over to the panel to have a 2-minute conclusions and remarks. Ekati, Grace, and Sulema. Sulema wanted to go.
Yes, Isaac.
So what is the final remarks? Because Helen has spoken and all those things. So what do you like to say?
My final remarks would still be an emphasis on sensitization, just that letting the people know the potential. That's all from me, because a lot is not yet known and a lot is still out there in the hands of people who cannot do much. So we need to go down to schools, communities, women, universities. We need to sensitize these people what is really happening.
Okay.
Yeah, mine is, I'm not very far from Catherine, but I just want also to emphasize on the governments to set aside special institutions like ministries specific for blue economy. Like, for instance, in Tanzania, on the part of Zanzibar, we have the Ministry of Blue Economy and Fisheries. So you can see how vast they are. The blue economy is getting, raising very, very much around Zanzibar when you compared it to Tanzania mainland. So when Isaac, when you were presenting, you mentioned something like that, and I thought this is very important, because if we have like a special institution which looks on a blue economy per se, that will bring a very, very positive changes in the blue economy sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I would like to thank Helen especially for joining, because Helen, I'm sorry I did not tell you this meeting, but I don't know how you found out to come on this page, and I wanted to have the discussion and see what is going to be like, especially in person. But unfortunately, it was late that I presented this to Professor Tatana and co. And they also like the idea, so they just bought the idea that, okay, then we can have it. But I would have loved the participants in the main hall and all the panels to be in person. So I do believe that hopefully at the next meeting that I'm just looking at, we can have funding from a different sources for those they presented. Since you guys have a basis of these ones, you go back home and do research more and find out so that we can put maybe a policy paper or something that the AUIBA can do. And another thing I'm happy to hear from Helen was this, that they are trying to do awareness creation to educate the local fishermen on what is blue economy, the tools, and how it's going to impact on their lives. My helpful appreciation goes to Sona, because it is not easy to join from a different countries. This means that this talk was very important to her, because I've been joining meetings from different countries that the time is very late and you need to sleep, but you want to learn and see what is happening. And then, so I'm really, really happy. I'm also happy for the WWF staff to also join us. And one of our colleagues is joining us from Turkey, and I don't know whether he's still online. I know him personally. He's gone off online. He joined us from Turkey, and he's doing his PhD. So he wanted to know what is happening in the African continent in terms of blue economy. So I would like to just end this session and then also ask again for a permission if I can share this recording with all your names with Helen, so that Helen can take it upon to the higher level meetings. If you do agree, just say I do.
Yes,
I do.
Isaac.
Yes, Isaac, I do.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And nice to hear from you. Those of you that I don't know, I'll be happy next time I'll meet you in person. And then hopefully, fisheries is a small world in Africa and the whole world. Anywhere I travel around the world, I meet the same faces. And my wish is this, that young people can take a lead in fisheries. So I discussed with Professor Hatana to have a session called Future Leaders in this conference as a part of inspiration to inspire young people to go into fisheries. So this session will start maybe in 10 minutes time. So if you have time, please kindly log in and listen to the wonderful work people are doing in Africa in terms of the young people around the whole world. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.
You too, Isaac.
Okay.
Thank you, Isaac, for organizing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
It has been a great opportunity to present on this forum. We look forward to meet maybe in the future.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.